Not sure if anyone's going to be around right now. I think Mel's probably still alive, and he is interviewing a man called I'm not sure the name, but someone who did work with Jared and Dan, and I think Sam. And I just wanted to touch on one aspect of this situation with Jared Lysak and his company AWP. So Jared is the founder. He's the creator. He's the figurehead. He's the creative director. He's the financial director. He's essentially all of the C-level things, as well as administrative team, etc. I mean, he's the one-stop shop for AWP. Other people have had strong identities with Adventures with Purpose. Sam, Nick, Dan, Doug, etc. But they're not the driving force, and they are not can't get this right. I'm sorry, I look a bit yellow and everything. They're not the driving force. They're not decision makers. They are pieces of AWP. And it seems that Jared's character has been questioned in part for a long time by some players, some of whom have left, and then some of whom seem to worship Jared in a way. And I wonder if Doug Bishop is someone who worships Jared, even though, hi Malmac, what do you think about this AWP situation? Look how puffy I am. What do you think about this AWP situation and Doug's statement that he made on his own channel, Doug Bishop? Because, you know, in that statement, Doug is mentioning he's got a code. So it's like some sort of code of operating, like a modus operandi, or rather a brotherhood code, or a code for human living. And it seems like he is alluding to, you know, what might be a sort of anything goes, but, you know, of course, the P word is not acceptable, right? Which is probably something to do with, say, the code of people imprisoned. If they discover that someone is in there for, you know, crimes against children, that person's going to cop it, right? Is that the code he's talking about? And I'm just trying to marry up someone making such a strong statement about a code of ethics, a code of living, a code of relationships in life. I'm trying to marry that up with what appears to be truth. Okay, it appears to be true that people around Jared to do with Adventures with Purpose, and you'd think this would have to include Mrs. Jared Lysak, that they have had an inkling for at least 7 months that there are some very powerful allegations against Jared, and that Jared didn't deny them, that he seems to acknowledge them, state that these things happened, and then just make a whole lot of excuses, right? I don't understand how Doug can come on and act like he is kind of a victim of just what's happening, and that he didn't know, and that he's got some sort of code. It sounds like he protesteth too much because he's prioritizing his own fame, his own drive to become some sort of hero. You know, he wants to better himself in the world in terms not of values and human growth, but, you know, in a way that is natural to many, right? Survival, but not only survival, but success, right? You know, security, independence. You know, he's had an opportunity through AWP, which a lot of people that were previously associated with AWP didn't have. Sam was a volunteer, okay? For example, Sam was a volunteer. We've heard that from him. And Doug is a paid member. And by accounts of people who've visited his house and things like that, he's doing rather well. He's successful through AWP and his association with Jared. And now he's whining like a little bitch about, don't lumber me in with it. I'm nothing to do with it. I. You know, perhaps it would have shown a caring person and a person with values and some sort of bro code to come out and say, look, you know, maybe make a statement about acknowledging did he or didn't know, you know, mentioning the emails, you know, maybe you should be putting it out there that he didn't read them if he didn't. And he doesn't state anything specifically. He's talking in code. He doesn't specifically say, I abhor this behavior, these actions, they're unforgivable. I disassociate from anything to do with that. And whilst Jared is indicted, and, you know, he's not found guilty as yet, but, you know, blah, blah, blah. What about some love for the victims? What about expressing something other than what seems to be self-preservation? And something just occurred to me. Oh, can I have a cough? You know, when you get riled up, and because I was wondering, why does Lindsay talk like that? It's maybe emotion comes out, right? And I just heard myself speak that way. Oh, because if Doug was in front of me, what would you want to do? I mean, this isn't a threat of violence, Doug, but you'd want to be... I just couldn't stand to be in a room with this type of attitude, you know? He's trying to keep his part of this organization together. He thinks somehow, I mean, I'm sure maybe in time, maybe after November the 30th, he will grow up and realize that AWP is done. He needs to dissociate and start his own thing, perhaps, if he's got the chance to, and he needs to get the right experts in to do that. Sorry, I'm not really saying this very well, am I? Oh, yes. Now, Better Call Tor, she might have it streaming both on her Better Call Tor channel and on Shitty Kitty Kitchen Productions or something. She's going to make, yes, an abomination from the 70s, some sort of drunk pineapple dish, which she is then going to devour when she's up in the pristine chill mountains of Tasmania. So the point that I actually came on to make, I actually wanted to not really make much of a point about Doug because I've printed comments about Doug. I wanted to talk about the commenters. I feel like the commenters that are saying, why are these women coming out now? It's in the past. It's sour grapes, or they're just trying to bring someone down at the height of his success. How nasty. Oh, these little trollops they practically go ahead and add. Are these, I don't want to get too down on these people because their mindset comes from maybe a state of pure innocence. And wow, I mean, if that's how they've lived their life and if that's what they have observed in life, just this innocence, then so therefore they don't understand human nature and pain and trauma and healing and these steps of grief and processing. Well, good for them, but are they the same people that are also adamant that Kathy Allen had to have known about Richard Allen, had to have known he's the guy on the bridge, had to have known that he's the killer and has done nothing about it? Okay? It is rare cases where serial killer partners are in the know. That's just a fact. The human brain is... We barely understand it. We're starting to, only in recent years and decades, to understand philosophy of the mind and psychology of the mind in any sort of deep way, to understand psychological trauma, to understand what abuse and stages of childhood will do to someone. Some evil people know this, that just seem to know this innately. They seem to know that they can destroy a human being before they've really begun by harming them when they are pre-verbal. They really know how to break people and they get pleasure out of it. But what we need to understand, let's make the assumption, because Jared has allowed us to make this assumption. Let's just assume that Jared did commit these crimes against his cousin when she was 9 years old and he was 16 or 17 years old, right? How can, it takes a person living in a certain bubble or in a certain culture, maybe, type of unit, type of lifestyle, type of whatever. I don't have the words for it now, to not be able to imagine the reality of that situation. It's like they somehow think, oh, this person would just go up to Mummy, hello, Mummy, I've been raped, and it was him. And Mummy goes, wow, we're going to the doctor and then to the police. Yeah, you think that's happened? You think, number one, the child's going to speak up. You think, number two, if they do speak up, something is going to fucking happen. It often doesn't. People are told to shut up, don't rock the boat, get over it. And that's what people will be saying now, 30 years later. Well, they've had plenty of time to get over it. It's in the past. Worst happened to me, or, whatever it is, right? So first, this child has got to feel completely, utterly confused, harmed, and alone. They are often feeling blamed or misunderstood. It's said by this woman that she got thrush infections, okay? And this is something that used to happen to little John Benet Ramsey, right? Remember? Sorry, is that annoying you? I feel like it's falling really funny on me. Look at what it's doing to my face. Tori, zoom in. Yeah, don't zoom in. So then when they're going through the trauma of being examined and maybe not really being able to tell what's happened, not being understood or even listened to or believed when it's happened. But that is so much on their shoulders. What a burden for their little psyches. Okay? And I'm not even fucking qualified to talk about this, right? Because I didn't experience this, you know. I have other sort of things that affected me in life. And people in churches, it compounds all the negative things that someone will go through, right? I do know that much because indoctrination, Catholicism, and everything like that is in part, I don't want to say responsible, but is in part what fed my schizophrenia. And so this 9-year-old child, and then she's got to go through puberty, and then she's feeling complicated things because her physical sexuality is developing at a time when her emotional, mental sexuality has already been viciously attacked and derailed. She hasn't been allowed to organically develop her sexuality. So who knows how this has affected her in every single relationship afterwards. So now a person, talk about this one, but we can talk in pretty much some generalities. What is this going to do? I've known people that then they get vaginitis. They literally, their vagina will clamp up. They can't have sex in a relationship where they might want to, where they love the person, they're attracted to the person. They can't physically have sex. Maybe they will become very promiscuous because they have been taught not to value themselves and that their value is only for the pleasure of someone else. A 17-year-old boy can masturbate 100 times a day. Jared Lysack could have just kept doing that. He didn't need to insert his genitals into a 9-year-old girl's genitals if he did that as alleged and as he has written himself that he did. Sorry, poor sentence structure. I get very worked up. And so then what happens? Sometimes there might be an unwanted teen pregnancy. There could be more degradation of the psyche, more misunderstanding. You know, this person has not had a chance to develop themselves for who they are. Everything is now rooted in what happened to them. That is guiding so much of their development. What about, so then promiscuity? What about drug and alcohol abuse? What about fear of relationships in general, not even wanting to embark on a relationship? What about just a trail of many, many broken relationships? What about not being able to hold down a job? What about other forms of self-harm and self-abuse because of the way they've been forced to feel about themselves? Can you imagine what that does to a 9-year-old child who should be perfect innocence? That age, when you see children of that age, what a precious, precious age, because it is a time when everything is just about to start tumbling down in a way, because they're not going to be living inside only their imagination anymore, and they are not going to be so protected just in a nuclear family unit or whatever anymore, because they are branching out further and further into the world. And imagine not having a strong sense of self-esteem, self-respect, and just self-knowledge about who you are and what you like and what you want to be, because everything is coming down to those moments when someone else has said you are nothing. I mean, this is what people like abusers like alleged Jared Lysack, this is what they do to other human beings as if it is their right. This narcissistic, so sure, Jared's narcissism, and it's probably at personality disorder level. Sure, we know that narcissism, now we're all a little bit narcissistic, aren't we? Sure. But narcissistic personality disorder, there's a few things that have to happen, right? And it's not necessarily abuse as such. What often we will discover if you research into people's childhoods who have this is they have this dichotomy in their childhood, this absolute dismissal of who they are, who they really are, this being ignored, just having no positive attention, no real care. Other people are coming first in the family, but also maybe they are just shallowly praised because people think that's a quick route to love. This is it's just going through some motions. It's there's no real parenting going on. People are often left to their own devices, and very specific things in childhood create the narcissist, right? So and Jared alleges that he was also abused, and people, they will come for me on this. They don't like me saying cold hard truths about religious factions and things, but in the Mormon culture, it's nearly a culture, not a religion, isn't it? In the Mormon culture, it is understood that sexual abuse is more common than, say, in a lot of other general populations. Okay, that is a fact, all right? That is a fact. And sexual abuse from mother or female guardian to son or male person in their care, that is also higher than in many general populations, right? It is a thing. And I mean, we all question, won't even say that, but so this is what I don't understand about people who that just please tried. Okay, yes, I understand that it's alleged, even though he's been indicted, so it's seen by the rights courts and things, it's seen that there's enough to indict him. But okay, yeah, sure, he's not charged. He hasn't been put in prison for it. I believe he will be, or he should be. But maybe not, okay. But you've got to make a bit more of an effort to walk yourself through what leads people up to the point of being able to come out as someone abused, okay? Did you know the statistic that people only are able to be at that point around 50 years old, my age, right? And I understand that Jared Lysack's cousin is around 39, or maybe, yeah, sure, maybe the process was hurried up a lot by seeing this guy going around creaming the nation out of their adoration and money, okay? The guy's a grifter. Hi Alexander. Hi Beth. Melmax here still. Hi Johnny. And Better Call Tour, as I said before, Better Call Tour. She's Australian. If you don't know her, you probably do, but if you don't, she's an Australian woman who lives outside of Hobart on a really nice Beach, and she's a lawyer by profession, and she also has a couple of YouTube channels, and she does some great fun things, and not only commentary about things, but she really tries to just bring some irreverence and entertainment to YouTube. She has a show called Batshit, and today she's going to be, and at the moment she's going through a 70s cookbook and cooking recipes. Very brave. I mean, I'm traumatized. I grew up in the 70s. I don't need to revisit this. Although, I mean, I guess the 70s for my food, that did raise me up, in the sort of a meat and 3 veg type of lifestyle. But, there were things on sticks and some pretty funny concoctions. So it's normal. It is actually, it's not abnormal. It's not abnormally malicious. It's not just because of timing. It's not just to bring them down a peg or two because it's sour grapes, jealousy, or whatever. I don't know if Tor can post her own website, and it's you guys, if you just go through my community tab anyway, and there's lots of links to Better Call Tor, so you can find her there. She's very wry, and she communicates a lot better than I do as well. The 70s were amazing. Johnny, you were in the 70s too. Probably most of us are all 70s childs or thereabouts. So people just try and have a little bit of an imagination and just try and think what life would have been like, what steps would have happened, and it is absolutely true that a lot of children aren't believed. Either they're not believed, or people just don't want to believe, or they're just silenced. People don't want to rock the boat, or and what happened to this woman happens a lot. She says that Jared would be at family functions. This happens a lot. The abuser is at the family functions, and the abused is feeling like the outcast, and they can't go to weddings or just barbecues and things. They can't be around this abuser, and they don't want any children that they might have had around the abuser, etc., right? And if they went, they'd be in a heightened state of awareness, and there's families that they absolutely know. They let these people come, and it's just an unwritten thing that, keep an eye on Uncle Ted, you don't let him be alone with anybody or any children, but he's there, he's living his life, he's getting exactly what he wants. Oh, it's so sickening. Alexander, you're from the 90s, are you? Hi, Alex. How are you? Beautiful, beautiful Alex. Alex is definitely not from the 70s. Probably late 80s or 90s. I don't want to guess, but they're not believed. And imagine the stress. Imagine if you've got other siblings, or if you're in a home and there's foster children, there's other children. Imagine the fear for them. There's a lot of documentation about people who, while they kept taking one for the group, so to speak, they would protect the other children by just allowing their own abuse to going on and kind of offering themselves up. And, people will make all these excuses, or you have to try to understand a few things about it so you can recognize what you're looking at. People will say, oh, but she's so loving. She's so loving to him. Look, she dotes. I've got a lot of videos I've made on this subject, right? I can't even remember. They might be just under Humanimal's musings. I have to clean up my playlists and make it all more clear and put a lot more individual playlists in. But, I've done a lot of things where I've researched papers, statistics, all this, read the studies, etc., so that I can talk about what I sense and feel, but with some conviction and knowing that I'm not misspeaking. But always apologies if I am, or if I am, but I don't mean to. I try not to. And it's part of the fight, flight, freeze mechanisms, okay, in the power threat model, right? Just as I've talked about psychosis being part of flight, right? You want to, sorry, right, it's a verbal tick. It's just, I'm trying to drive home my point, not, I'm not doing the jewels of thoughts. Put a 1, okay, if you know I'm right. And put a 2 if you're an idiot, right? Yeah, it's not like that. So, it's part of that model. And the child who is docile, see, Suzanne Morphew, a loving, docile, gentle child, right? Yeah, because she was the daughter of an alcoholic. She was in freeze. That's a split off psyche part of Suzanne Morphew. That is not her full personality. That is not Suzanne Morphew's core personality. Maybe we got to know more about what, she thought about and who she was from much later in her life. But it certainly affected how she chose partners and things. I mean, to think that she thought a great guy to have an affair with was that douchebag guy it just shows what a stunted, immature level she was at throughout her entire life, how damaged she was, and also what she was capable as far as dichotomy and everything, because it's normal. It was way of life, a way of survival for her to be split. And that's part of freeze. And so when people say, look at her, look, he's not fiddling that child. Look, she brings him a cup of tea every morning. She kisses him on the cheek. She says, I love you, Papa. Right? That's freeze. That is survival. That is don't hurt me. Don't hurt me. Right? It is probably the most putrid of all things to witness. If you have real empathy, you have to put yourself inside the mind of that child. Oh my God, the damage that must do, right? And this is the damage that allegedly Jared Lysak has rained down on his cousin and allegedly his sister. She speaks quite differently to the cousin, and I think there's a lot of, storytelling there. I think, there's the real truth and there's hers and his story and everything. I think she's good at telling her story, and of course it have threads of truth, but I don't think events have always unfolded how she says. That's just my gut feeling, so it means nothing. Yeah, so I just Melmax found Better Call Saul's channel. Alex Erickson is always doing fabulous lives, Alexander. And if anybody, I can't believe no one here isn't already on Alex's channel, but I also link her videos in my page. I think I did put up something today, the statement that she posted of Sam, the Adventure Man. So yeah, I was just thinking about, I was just correlating these ways of thinking, or these belief systems that the people, and I'm not saying these people are good and bad, it's just an observation of how they process the world, how they interface with the world, how their modem of a brain, what what they're dialing into, what they're downloading, and what operating system they're running, because I think it's quite different to mine. I'd like to understand it more. I think sometimes people are coming from, just what they feel is extreme logic, or even a sort of a protective mode, i.e., thinking, we don't like false accusers and things like that, right? But, I just found it interesting. I thought, are the herd that erred to the side of Kathy Allen had to have known, and they're quite definitive about that, right? I'm not, because sure, yeah, of course, it's a possibility that she did. I think it's most likely she didn't. There's some really strong psychological denial stuff going on there, right? I think that's most likely, but I can also see, Kathy, there are things she does that are very unnerving. And she does give pause for thought, but I think it would be prudent and mature at this point in time to just give her the benefit of the doubt. It's, don't think about, but if I don't guess this right, I'm going to look stupid. I think it's prudent. I think it's more, I don't know. I just feel like it's best at this stage not to really run away down that track, because we think we have some fact and evidence. We can see her videos and photos. We can hear her voice. We can try and get a feel for what she's like. But is it enough fact and evidence to base that kind of conclusion on? I don't think so. And, I think opinions are wonderful and it's great to speculate, but I think they should be based on known things, concrete things. And I feel like, the people that just see that there's some sort of this black and white, how could you not? So therefore it is. Just then, okay, so take that back and imagine what you have. Just try and imagine the steps that people take to get where they are and to get into that self-delusion, or to, finally from 9 years old to 39 years old, what life must have been like and what one must have to go through to even get anywhere near the place to be able to talk about it. And, you can see with, yes, practical joker, Beth, in quite an uncomfortable, gross way. And Alex will know this very well, the apparent surface correlations between Don Wells and his families. I say extended families, his family of origin, everyone surrounding him and his history, and the step families and their culture and their situation and what happened in the future, and Mary and Jean weren't talking about it, right? Sure, okay, so I think one of their daughters was the one to blow a whistle kind of in this regard, because she did know about the abuse and maybe had experienced some herself. But, with Don Wells, we've got a very similar situation to Jared Lysick. Someone being successful or whatever, or not, or being some cretin up on Ben Hell, it doesn't matter. That the correlations are clearly there. The generational abuse. Okay, so Jared, I was 12. I was abused too. Don Wells, I was 12. He was 12, but he was trying to say that the girl he was abusing was much older and was knowing and wanted it, and she wanted to touch his thingy, and oh, he, this, the lies, they're trying to lie about it. Don Wells lying about his son, Donald Wells Jr., who was 18 or 19, and he abused, was it his cousin or something, or a girl who was 14. Oh, but in Don Wells telling, before he finally gets around to admitting the truth, oh, they were sort of like 15 and 13 or something, right? Oh, no, but he was this age and she was that age. And I mean, all this, the lies, the putrid lies. It's exactly the same. And he did it about his own situation with his stepsisters, the exact same way. Jared is doing it about his situation with his cousin and his sister. Can you see that this is a pattern of abusers? And hi, Chrome Curious. And hopefully I've linked some of yours in my community pages as well. I think I must have, for people to find if they haven't already. Jennifer's writing a book about Colorado murders, and she's including Patrick Frazee in the murder of, I want to say Crystal Kenny, but am I just remembering the awful woman that... Isn't it awful how we call cases after the perpetrator? She's writing about Suzanne Morphew. She's writing about Laurie Vallow, I believe, isn't it? That's not correct. Is that right? I know that's not Colorado, so what am I saying? And writing about Chris Watts. But yeah, it's this generational thing, right? So it doesn't have to be sexual abuse, but it can be maybe that toward that person that goes on to abuse, because actually statistically it's not just abused people that then just go and give out the same pain, although that certainly happens, but maybe there's just abuse in the family. There is mapping and then mirroring, right? And Don Wells, what a sob story, right? Oh, his stepbrother wanted his own sisters for himself, and just the garbage that comes out of that man's mouth. I mean, sure, we know there is a lot of deep, sad dysfunction there, right? And you know what? Little Summer Wells would have, I think she's going to be the one to snap them all out of it one way or the other, and it is, a huge tragedy that it's the loss of her life. I think we can realize that it's the loss of her life that has brought that about, but it's brought a lot of things to life, and it's also hopefully broken that generational cycle of abuse. If only it means that, now don't fucking come for me. How do I say this? Oh, it's Humanimal. Hi, have you met me? Even if it means that now throughout their lives, 3 boys are going to be watched more acutely. Hear what I'm saying? Yeah, where did Candace go? Run away with the carnival again? Not sure. What an awful, putrid person. And her mother. And Don Wells. They are the unholy trinity. Yeah. So yeah. I just wondered about that. I thought, will the people who just the way they work is to just to see the man on the bridge, to see the blue coat, to think, well, when you see someone you recognize. Look, I'll tell you something though, right? And it's about doubt. It's about doubt, because it would be very easy to then talk yourself out of it, or maybe she confronted Richard and he just talked her out of it. Because I've had times in my life, when I have been convinced. I have just seen a cousin, like, now this cousin would have been in New Zealand, and I was in Sydney, and I wasn't even living in Sydney at the time. I think I was visiting. I ran up to a cousin, what I thought was my cousin, and ran up, M, in the middle of Sydney City, swarming with people, convinced. Now, it wasn't my cousin, right? And so, that leads me to believe that, yeah, that doubt can come in. And you want the doubt. You want the doubt. You don't want the belief. You want the doubt. And then you just move forward. But we don't know what has brought her out about this this arrest. Did it just come out of the blue? Or did Kathy Allen, even though she's sitting with this man in the car, did she find something and call it in? It's very strange. It's a very strange arrest. Or is it the culmination of all these long years of investigation? Strange timing then. Why do it when Tobe and Doug are away on holidays? That doesn't seem to make sense unless were they obstructive in some way just by their very presence? Or is it, just this random bizarre timing where something happened, something gave? Do you think it's Keegan Kline in his testimony? That guy's a liar. And also someone pointed out, and I'm not sure if it was Cold Truth or what's her name now? Elizabeth, can't remember her channel, who actually added up the charges, said, well, before they were removed, some of them, it was 77 years that Keegan was facing, and now it's only 70. It's barely shaved anything off. So really, could it be anything to do with it? Maybe it's something to do with the Wabash, but nothing to do with Keegan. Maybe Wabash is to do with Keegan and not to do with Richard Allen. We don't know the combinations. We don't know, and I don't trust people's suppositions. Even murder sheets saying that Wabash might be connected to this and then therefore this. I don't trust it really. I'm not sure how to feel about it. It might be true. It's very likely Richard Allen is just this lone pig, not this wolf, pig. Because, he's lived in Delphi from 2006, and he's the type of predator that would have fantasized about Highbridge for so long. Yeah, look, DNA might have been a match. Maybe someone found a loophole. Maybe someone was suspicious in his family and went and put in a DNA test and then submitted it to that big website that is specifically for finding people who have committed crimes based on familial DNA. Perhaps that happened, right? Maybe it's just pot luck. Maybe they did it unawares. But, people are also saying, well, he was accused of stealing something, and that was the in. Maybe they managed to get fingerprint or DNA then. I mean, I haven't always been convinced that DNA was at the scene, but not having a type of criminal record that would require his DNA being taken, then it seems likely now. I can change my mind and I can see that maybe they do have human DNA and that it might be his. I know though, I'm curious. It's like, I'm going to shoot my mouth off and get in a lot of trouble for it and get some grief. But, some things have to be said. I'm so resentful that we can't say what needs to be said. And the ones that say it are vilified and false struck and all sorts of things like that. It's ridiculous. I have never said anything. I won't even continue. Sorry, I'm starting to mumble. Where was I? What was I saying? Yeah, so Jennifer says, I heard he got in trouble with some sort of theft, maybe felony. Felony conviction equals automatic swab for the database. Yeah. I'm also, okay. So we all know the palaver that goes on, let's say palaver, that swirls around Delphi, right? And sorry, I'm sticking my face right up in your grill. And people are just still going along with, Richard, yeah, that bridge guy, the photo in the video, it's all planted. It's planted. And hi, Em, it's planted. And, the girls died previously. I mean, look, there are some really weird things to do with the timeline, but it's not really up to people to then really roll with it to the point that people have, right? About now, there's so much fabrication, so much collusion. So, I mean, this is a major production. Wow, the skills, just the logistical nightmare that some amazing director and producer has managed to pull together to create the story of Delphi that some people are putting out. It's just wow, right? Wow. But we've still got people, I mean, why am I saying what I'm saying right now? I'm saying when I look at the images of Richard Allen and the images of the guy on the bridge that I call bridge guy, they look like the same person. They really do. It fits. And it fits his height. If he's 5'8", he's right in that pocket. We were told he was between 5'6" and 5'10". Yeah, Beth. Keegan researched DNA online right after he was interviewed. And you know that search that he did for Sandy Hook, dead bodies of the children. I don't know if this means anything. So many people would have been helping with this, but Kathy Allen did post about Sandy Hook massacre, this some sort of fundraiser or some sort of thing in 2019. I don't know. And was it after we found out about Keegan's texts? I wish I had the dates, or searches, I mean. Oh, there are things that give pause, right? There really are. It's super creepy. But was she just someone that was as enthralled with, these double murders that have gone on in her town as much as we are, right? That could just be the case. I mean, the daughter wearing a t-shirt, an Abby and Libby t-shirt, did she buy that herself? Are they as fascinated with the murders and as concerned for the community and as out for, justice as most other people? Or is that some sick thing? Did she not buy that herself? Was it bought for her by her father or a knowing mother? I mean, yeah, you do question, but I just can't fully go there to the side that Kathy Allen really did know, even though I can see things that give me pause just because of what I have researched about the way denial works in these situations and that sort of thing. And that's why I made my video about codependence, because I think codependence explains that phenomenon within their marriage. They've been married a very long time. He was a particular type of person, and maybe she was another type of person, the narcissist and the codependent. And the sickness only grows and develops in these relationships as time goes by, right? They don't heal one another or anything, okay? So that's why I made that, because I'm trying to understand it and understand their dynamic and the denial. And I might be wrong. But I look at Alan, and I see bridge guy, his weight, 195, we were told maybe at the time. I think he's put on weight, and, he's really puffed up in the face. But, when I think of his features now and I see the face of the bridge guy, what little we can capture, it fits, So, what do you think about these people that are saying about the images being faked and planted? What do you think about Sunny Justice? I mean, look, not that Keegan Dunker's going to get much, but she really should start to think about what mortgage she can get on her apartment and things like that, because he might be taking her for it. I would sue her. And perhaps he has just been biding his time. The way that people accuse the 9-year-old girl who's now 39 of biding her time, no, she wasn't. But maybe Keegan Dunker has, because I was thinking, well, that's what I would maybe do. Just wait till an actual arrest, if one happens, and then take her for everything. But I don't think he'll get much. But she outright calls Keegan Dunker the man on the bridge. And so I can't uphold respect for people that are continually going on her channel, that are putting themselves out there as if their law enforcement history makes them worthy of trusting and listening. Because look at what bad judgment Mr. Steve has, for example, Steve Webb. He's always on her panel, knowing what she says. Okay, who would give a rat's hoot about her, feigned empathy and compassion and or whatever investigative nature she has, and whether he holds that in good stead or something, right? Because she's been consistently for years naming Keegan Dunker as bridge guy and saying that, he's involved in the murders of Abby and Libby, based on the fact that she can see a few moly-molies, okay? Why does he even entertain her? You learn to recognize why people, they're just all for self-promotion, right? Where was I going with that? Give me a few seconds, please. Yeah, dead airtime on a live. I need some background entertainment. I just want to gather my thoughts back. Yeah, people that are consistently telling you that they are kind, they are so kind, they are so generous, they are so caring. Everything they do is for others. No, it's not. It's just all lies. People that are truly like that are not like that. Hello, how are you, S. Brooke? You might need to just do a bit of a rewind now. I think my little batteries are, I'm sort of like the energy, but the bunny that's sort of running out of steam. Whoa. Yeah. I've been on a bit of a rant, S. Brooke. And then, the other thing I guess I could talk about, but, I've written it pretty clearly in my community post. I think the big question here to do with a bit of jazz, a bit of Art Pepper maybe. A bit of Art Pepper. Oscar Peterson would be good to listen to in the background, wouldn't it, Johnny? Yeah, Esbrook, yeah, loves a good rant. I mean, well, you have stuck with me, so you must. I appreciate everybody that has long term and newbies that might stick it out. Or an opera. That might be, I don't know, that might be, I don't think I could do that. The Nutcracker Suite. Yeah, I think a big question is what we need to ask ourselves and what we need to be given honesty for and then be honest about is, did Doug know? Okay, do we believe that Doug knew? Because it is a completely different situation if he did or if he didn't. And this Brooke can't quit me. Oh, I'm like a dirty habit, aren't I? What am I like? I don't know. I don't know. I'm kind of like, maybe some people have a masochistic streak or something. I don't know. Yeah, probably. It's just hard to accept that Doug didn't know, and I think that's why I've come out so strongly. Um, if he truly didn't, if superficially, surfacely, if with what we knew, we could give him a true, honest benefit of the doubt, and we could act with empathy toward him. I mean, I would be on that bandwagon, but I would be explaining to Doug, not that he would ever see it or hear, but I would be saying, well, my opinion would be immediately just cut ties. Don't move forward at all with anything AWP, at least until the hearing or something, and make a statement where you reject that sort of behavior, that you do stand with victims, and that, you will be taking appropriate action if certain things are found out in a court of law or, decided upon in a court of law to be true, right? So maybe something like that rather than his I. I mean, he just came across as a self-serving wanker. And it's not a pretty look. It's not a good look. And I think one of the things that I said is, what, now he's Jared's beard? Because it's we've all read the emails, right? How did Doug not have awareness? Find them for himself. He would have been told about them. And if he's told about them, he would have wanted to then go and see for himself. And once he's seen for himself, okay, maybe he would have been confused. Maybe he would have talked to Jared. Maybe, but he's had 7 months, and it just seems like he is lying. And so I can't. It's not up for me to tolerate it or not tolerate it, right? I guess I'm nothing to him or them, but I can't tolerate it as far as behavior in society, because it's victim blaming, and it's the whole culture of what happened to these children in the first place that allows them to grow up unacknowledged, unheard, right? It's this whole sweeping it under the carpet. It's this whole fake denial. It's all of this turn a blind eye. It's choosing one person over another. It's choosing the abuser over the victim. It's valuing, sorry, I'm so yelly. It's valuing the abuser. It's saying you are more worthy. You're more worthwhile. Yeah, you're a piece of shit. But I value you. I just can't understand it. I don't get it. Stand for something. So S. Brooke says, so is AWP, Jared's team distancing from him? Well, what they're doing is, well, look, already Sam the Adventure Man, He was on the channel Just K. He does feel used by her because he didn't realize that she was going to be broadcasting the phone conversation that he had. Kay, of course, does state that no, he knew, and he knew I was going to be recording him and using it, and he's acknowledged this. But, I think he feels a bit hurt over that, right? Because he was being very open. He had already left Jared a year ago. I think he left after the Morphew, Suzanne Morphew kerfuffle, when he really knew what shenanigans were and he'd had a fucking enough. And I think what he also knew was about Jared's situation in the past. And he had left, and then other people have left as well. And then there's a new team that are the ones that are actually paid contracted workers. And they were not only aware 7 months ago that there were allegations about Jared from his cousin that he acknowledged back in writing from an AWP email address. So he didn't deny, and he actually acknowledged that what she said was it happened, but then went on to make a lot of excuses. That same team is the same team that was also there for all the cockwomblery and putrid shenanigans around the Kylie Rodney tragic death situation, where Jared was manipulating YouTubers and media and lying. And where are these people, these tubers? Tiffany, Zav girl, where are you? Okay, where are you on this? You coward. Okay, true colors shining through for everybody, right? And I've said this over so many years. You can see to the heart of people, their desires, their priorities, their true motivations with who they associate with, what they let go, what they stand for, okay? And they show you who they are very clear. Jared's from your town. And they show you. They either show you with silence or with, more bullshit and jelly beans. So that team, AWP, the status quo, were there in Truckee being a predator along with Jared, because they are predating on the teens and on the community of Truckee, okay? They were, Jared and his comments, his statement that it was that they had identified without doubt Jagger with Kylie's vehicle the day after she went into the lake. So on the Saturday at Boca. Oh no, we have that is a seal, that is a set in concrete identification. That whole tow truck thing, or the roadside assistance thing, is all bullshit. And they're all part of that. They're all part of the creating this drama and this mystery and intrigue, because guess what? The death of a teenager in Truckee in an awful way, it's just entertainment to them. It is money. It's money. They couldn't wait to get there. They raced there. And why? Maybe because Jared knew his clock was ticking. He needs to get as much in the coffers as possible. He's raking in millions. Do you think it costs very much once you've got sonar equipment and some diving equipment? Do you think it costs much to take a tinny out 50 feet onto a lake? You need a vehicle and a trailer, in a $6,000 tinny, dinghy, a boat. And you could film it on your phone. But, these guys raking it in. Sure, make money, but this is the tragedy porn, isn't it? Tragedy porn. And they, that situation was making Jared hard, and he was predating on teenagers and minor children, basically, and just fed into, and gosh, I was swept along with a lot of it. I did watch a lot of Zav's shows because, she'd do things like she would spend hours just trying to work out, okay, well, let's try and pinpoint where Kylie's car was parked. She spent hours doing it. That's fascinating to me. And that does take commitment and type of skill and patience. And I can see why, I know why I would want to know that information, because we were trying to work out what route Kylie's car took. Okay. But wow, yeah, I watched a lot of shit that wasn't very good as well, and then I just couldn't deal with it anymore because I saw it for what it is. She gained 20,000 subs because she was sort of in a bit of YouTube no man's land for a while, really plateauing, and she's been so committed to her channel. But wow, I just lost all. And I used to appear on her show. I'd been on her panel plenty of times. One time I just signed in just to say something. I don't know, probably a name about the whales or something. And the instant I got on, she left me in front of 600 people because she needed to go to the toilet. And I really used to like Zav and enjoy what she did, and kind of understand a little bit of how she was and where she was coming from. But it's like something either developed or was set loose and unleashed, and can't deal with it. That whole Ryan Upchurch crap. What a massive predator troll Ryan Upchurch is. Oh, just my opinion, Ryan. Okay, now he wants his 100 grand back from Jared. Oh God, cry me a river. That guy is nothing but fake posturing. That is he's the most insincere, unreal person, but he's very talented. Okay, his rapping, it's good, but yeah. He relies on YouTube for his income. He'll try and tell you otherwise. Hey, Jules. How are you? The cool blue wolf, I like to call you. Yeah, I've just been raving on for how long? Over an hour now. Yeah. I just had to vent, right? I just had to vent. There's a few of us that just need to vent. And I was just saying, Jules, the big question is, and it would make all the difference in how we experienced Doug and how we treated Doug. The big question is, did he know? In his statement, he's trying to say, oh, he didn't know, he knew nothing, and his code, that unspoken code, which would be that code of anything goes but pedophilia, anything goes but child abuse. So you can let your imagination run wild there, right? I think there's some that's actually a pretty heavy statement. But he just came across as a little bitch, and he came across as insincere, and he came across as he just wasn't really thinking about the situation at all and the reality of it. The reality of a 9-year-old being RAP ED'd by a person that he holds in esteem, that he wants to emulate, that he's yoked himself to, that he, wouldn't you just want to be expressing your shock and condolences and maybe make some sort of neutral statement? Because of course he's indicted. Jared is indicted. It's alleged, etc. Just disregarding those emails from him for a minute. No doubt he'll have some excuse about that, and try and backpedal on that. I don't know, but instead just go and listen. I mean, actually, I can't listen to it again. I tried to listen to Kit's commentary about it because she's just got a beautiful, beautiful, soft-spoken, sharp, sarky way about her, and she always nails it. And there is a woman that understands human nature, right, and who can empathize and who will go through will actually do the mental exercises to try and understand situations. And I was trying to watch her video commentary on it, and I had to stop after halfway and say, look, I can't even finish listening. I've heard it once, it's enough. It's just the selfishness and insincerity, and all he is caring about is preserving his position as he wants to move. Doug is delusional. I think he thinks he's just going to move on as a figurehead for AWP, the big name Adventures with Purpose, and he's going to be leading teams and still raking in the dough and being lauded as a hero. Just break away, Doug. Here's the advice of many. Break away. By all means, set up your own team. You're probably going to need a few more experts around you, but by all means, go and do it, because we all know finding people in the situations that you do is so valuable. It would be indescribable and immeasurable, the peace and just what a service to give to people's families and to people's partners and to people's children, what I mean, friends, etc., to find people the way that teams like AWP and the Chaos Divers, and there's all sorts of people doing this. That's great. But you actually just became you're a production company, you're entertainment, and you're business for money. Okay? And that's the motivation. Look, it's great. I think, who cares what the motivation if someone's giving money to charity, or just because they want to promote their own name or whatever, right? Anyway, I'm just not really saying much now, sorry. Let's just see. Oop. So yeah, who does... Yeah, Sam leaving was really telling, right? Because why would you? He was a real, much loved, integral part of Adventures with Purpose, right? I mean, Jared, oh God, doesn't he just gross you out to look at him anyway? That he's whitened his teeth beyond all natural whiteness, and it gives him this predatory shark look. He just looks so fake, so slimy. But I think the general population, maybe it's just natural for us to want to look up to people, to have people that we can admire, that can lead us, So when, I'd say they would self-identify as alpha males, people like Doug, right? I'm not saying Sam would at all. I think Sam's a person of true human value, with human values, and he's a true gentleman, it seems. But, there's people that identify as alpha. I mean, other people are identifying with them as alpha, and they speak with great authority, and they're out there doing macho things, and people really, they just get flummoxed and bamboozled, and and sort of, understandably they get drawn in. It is like there's this veil, right, that and a lot of them aren't willing to pull that veil away, and because when you have to do that, you have and question your own judgment and question your own identity, that can be too confronting for people, I think. I think they don't want to be confronted with the fact that they were wrong, and that people that they might have sort of kind of even copied or emulated in some way. Sometimes they might be, they might grow their beard that way, or wear the same sort of clothes, or get interested, speak the same way. And then it's so undermining, and it's so confusing and discombobulating. They can't go there. So you get the doubling down. S. Brooks says, Sam was a good guy because he didn't say why he just did what he needed to do for his life. In a way. I mean, I guess to do with the money, sure. To do with the money, the finances, the grifting, sure. Yeah, just move on. Let people do what they will. Where people maybe give their money, even if they're bamboozled out of it. Hey, if they're going to have that poor judgment and not see something for what it is, or not look deep, sure. It is sad if he did have some sort of understanding about Jared and his sleaziness. I think he saw his sleaziness because of the prank, which is so cringe, so uncomfortable to watch, where Jared gets another of his sisters to pretend to come strongly onto Sam in a sexual manner. And then when Sam turns him down, he says, he pretends to take the girl up on it. I mean, that is so cringe. So I think Sam knew of Jared's sleazy nature, was confused by it, but he did leave prior to the 7-month period, right? He left before. So, this is why I'm saying, so I think I can give him the benefit of the doubt unless he comes out and says he knew about this, because if he knew about that, I don't know. I feel like, out of respect for the cousin, sister, etc., people who have been the actual victim, sure, maybe it's not your place to say, but I feel like maybe you would want to give a few hints to the world, right? But I guess in the same token, I guess there is a responsibility to allow people to tell their story themselves. Yeah. But does it mean that, someone's out there in the world that is unsafe to be around children, etc.? Maybe. But, we can't stop all of the millions of people that are out there that are dangerous, right? Yeah, it's conflicted a bit on it, but I can see that he's a guy of integrity. Yeah, that's a name, Split Blitz or whatever. I can't read that. Yeah, that's AWP with the P having a different, being a different word. Yeah. So should I call that a morning and go and make some steak? Better Call Tor might already be cooking in Shitty Kitty Kitchen Productions, making her drunk pineapple dish, pineapple dorado or something. It sounds absolutely repulsive. I have to say it. I do actually. I love pineapple. It's beautiful. I like it on pizza. But I'm not sure if I like those sort of drunk salads. But then again, pineapple and rum, that's pretty tasty, isn't it? So, yeah. Oh, shitty. See, that's how to spell it. You can see that it's the SHXTTY KITTY kitchen. Tori's prepared for disappointment in the pineapple dish. The first one made was a chicken skewer dish. The sauce looked amazing, and it was soy sauce with butter and a few things. But the chicken was also marinated in soy. So I think that was a dish devised by Chinese restaurants in the day that had liquor licenses, so that you would go in and order that, and then you would order a lot of beer. That's just my theory on that one. I don't know how that can be an authentic dish. Or maybe it's some sort of bastardized dish. Westerners love to do this to Eastern dishes, don't we? We bastardize them, we fuck them up. Yeah, so I think you just needed a lager with that shitty kitty. What's the big beer down in Tasmania? One of them is Cascade. It's got the uh, Tasmanian tiger on the bottle. So yeah, I think you just were missing the Cascade and Bogues. Yeah, and Bogues. If it was in Queensland, sure, we'd have the 4X. Yeah, the MSG overload, you see, MSG, that'll just make anything taste good, right? But look, at least soy sauce is fermented. But yeah, to marinate something in soy sauce and then to go slather that same dish in soy sauce once it's cooked. I mean, that's just yeah, that doesn't make any sense. Yeah. I really love, Tori, do you like the coconut? Is it coconut amine? What is it? Hold on, let's have a look. This might be going to show up backwards. I don't know because I'm looking at my screen. I don't know. Do you like these products? So liquid coconut MCT 100% pure. I love this. If anyone is looking for a delicious sauce to put on pretty much anything, it's rather than using a soy sauce, because sometimes, even those, look, the only healthy soy is fermented soy. It's the fermentation process that allows the human body to digest, and that's where the benefits are. Soy that is unfermented, so tempeh, fermented, just those soy blocks not fermented, they go through your body and come out the other end exactly as they went in. They have no benefit, there's no purpose. Most Asian countries, when they're eating soy, it's fermented. Things that are bastardized to Western palates, it's not good for you. It's very bad for you. Not to mention probably all the estrogens. But, sometimes if you have to have these low salt or low soy diets, coconut liquid aminos, sorry. And this is Bragg's brand. They also do really good, Bragg's do a good apple cider vinegar. The ingredients are organic coconut blossom nectar, water, organic apple cider vinegar, and some sea salt. Yeah. I mean, I think we need salt from a lot of different places. There's some schools of thought that say don't have rock salts, rocks. It's dangerous and horrible. But yeah, this is sea salt in there. And that is delicious anyway. And if you just cook a steak and sprinkle a little bit of this on top of it afterward, if you do like to eat rice or egg, I mean, you could roast some pumpkin just with some pine nuts or something if you're into that sort of thing and have that. Salt is life. It is so life. Salt is, I mean, okay, pepper is the most common spice actually, but salt is such a valuable resource. I mean, that's why it was, used to barter with and everything in days gone by. And it's big business. It preserves things. It's a vital electrolyte. It's a vital electrolyte. You haven't seen the amino one. You really honestly should be able to find this just in a regular supermarket, Tori. You don't need to go to a health shop or anything, although I paid a premium for this at a house shop the other day because I couldn't, no, what am I saying? It's in most health shops, but some of them it's overpriced. And some little supermarkets or Asian supermarkets or whatever will have this, but it is delicious. I can't even describe to you. At first hint, it tastes like a sort of a soy sauce or a Worcester sauce, but with a hint of, like a like, what's that sort of vinegar that is the dark black vinegar? What's that called again? With a hint of that and a hint of sweetness, obviously, from the coconut nectar. And and it's just one plain thing that you don't even need to mix up anything, because it's just beautiful on its own, but it's also lovely in recipes. Yeah, I love coconut juice, the young flesh. Beautiful. I tried cooking with coconut flour for a long time when I try not to eat wheat, but nothing seems to really hold together. You'd probably, wouldn't be able to do without gluten. But buckwheat flour added with some coconut flour will hold together reasonably well if you wanted to just make up some delicious, easy pancakes or even savory things. And it is also all right to add into meatloafs and stuff like that sometimes. Yeah, I must get back into. I've actually got to fix my oven. A knob it's out. I've got to get the oven fixed. I'll do that soon, and then I can do some more cooking videos. Maybe I'll make my turkey meatloaf, although I think I might have made that already on my channel. I've probably done it. I've made a few things. How to do the perfect pork crackling. I made a pink coffee. I've made cupcakes. I made those rice paper fry things with an egg on it the other day, although they didn't come out that well, but they usually do. Yeah, have to get back into cooking for the channel. Anywho, thanks to each and every one who have been here or will be here in the future. Drama. I never really knew, and still to this day, I mean, I'm learning who the drama channels are, but I used to, people would be talking about Diane this and someone that, and I'd be scratching my head. I didn't even know how people came across these channels. And then, of course, I've definitely been involved in my fair share of drama, but it's to do with the cases I follow. I don't understand drama crap channels at all. And I've never known how people find them, people like Katie Jo and things. I mean, this has been a huge learning curve that I was way behind the 8 ball on, and thankfully so. But yeah, I love cooking videos and everything. Turkey meatloaf sounds good. Turkey meatloaf is one of the most delectable, versatile dishes, Johnny, that you can make. And now and there's no actual recipe, right? It's an idea that you can just make that to suit yourself using turkey. Turkey is a lean meat. It's sweet, so okay, you usually end up adding in other fat, but I'm adding coconut fat oil, which is a medium chain, which is it's a healthy oil. Okay, it has a lot of benefits in the body. But you can add anything. You can make it with Christmas coming up. Okay, now a lot of people aren't going to be wanting to make a turkey, especially say in a hot place like Queensland, right? You don't want these big baked dinners, although fuck it, people still do it. But you can still have turkey, but you can make a turkey meatloaf, and you can have it cold or just warm. It doesn't have to be all these hot dishes, and you can make it really Christmassy. So, you think green and red, which I don't like as a color combination, but you can put cranberries with pine nuts, pistachios in there with some cumin, and just the deliciousness of, and then you slather the top with sauce and you just mix it up, slather it with sauce. You can put Parmesan cheese or whatever if you want on top, and you just bake it, and it's so easy. And then it comes out of the tin and you can slice it up, and it will be a crowd favorite. It is so delicious. Every time I make it, it always just disappears, and it's so tasty, and it's the best leftovers you can have already. And you can just make it beautiful in a sandwich. You can eat it on anything on its own. Maybe I'll make that again with Christmas coming up. I used to love baking pies and making savory and sweet pies. Maybe I'll make some pies as well. But everything I do, see, Tori, I really I admire people that use recipe books. I have a few. I sometimes get them. I've got recipes. I never cook with a recipe. I'm one of these. Look, I know what a fucking teaspoon is. I know what a tablespoon is, and I understand bitter, sweet, sour, piquant, umami, salt, whatever. I understand flavors, and I understand cooking times, and I understand. I don't. Because I'm just a cook. I don't ever have aspirations to try to be any sort of chef and learn techniques and to do complicated things. I mean, nothing just gives me anxiety more. You should see how long it takes me to make cheesecake. I mean, now they're beautiful, lemon myrtle cheesecake with just this biscuit crumb base, and so beautiful. And it's simple. Just throw some things in, crumb it up, press it down. But just to make sure I'm doing it right, because I'm using a food processor. It's too much. I love a one pot wonder. I love a stock pot. I love one oven dish. I don't mind doing a bit of prep first, a bit of browning, a bit of marinating, etc. But really, honestly, I'm a homestead. I'm a homesteader. I'm a homesteader cooker. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, I really have to get my oven fixed. It's actually starting to get annoying because I've just ignored it for so long, been taking care of other things. Yeah. Johnny's hungry now. Yeah, Johnny, go and watch Tori on Shitty Kitty Kitchen make her pineapple dish. I'm starving too. I'm starting to get hungry. Big fan of the crock pot dinner. Yeah, like it's so easy. I mean, easy. Like, okay, it's chicken chasseur, cordon bleu, or whatever. I grew up with a lot of casseroles, so Mum was always trying to throw the kidney in. That was annoying. But I think I realized that as an adult now, well, she was probably buying, they used to package them up, beef with a bit of kidney cut up into it. But she used to try and say it was mushroom. But, grew up on, casserole made in the crock pot and just served with rice or whatever. And just all that sort of just, basic cooking. And, and it stood our family well in life, to develop our bodies properly. Brooke is aware of Bragg's products, and I've got the apple cider vinegar here too. I've started again. I go on and off things, I'm never consistent, but at the moment I'm trying to cut down on the old belly, and so I'm having apple cider vinegar in the morning. I mean, it doesn't help that I have started drinking alcohol again, and I won't go into that, but soy no, salt good, says Brooke. Yeah, I mean, look, salt. And you can get so many delicious salts. You can taste the difference. The mineral content makes a difference. You've got with the sea, things from the sea, more acidic, okay, so higher, lower pH with the sea, and then you've got the earthiness, the grounding of rock salt and things like that, and the different colors it is because of the different minerals in there, right? I love the Maldon sea salt flakes, so delicious. And really, honest to goodness, with all you need is if you've got a quality product, if it's cooked well with sensitivity, all you really need is a little sprinkle of salt on something. It's just chef's kiss. Yeah. Things don't need to be complicated, right? And I think, I mean, I wish I knew how to make a lot more sauces. I can make a cheese sauce, make gravy. The friend of a single guys just throw it in. Yeah, it's just like the fry pan or the broiler, or some people would have the steamer, or some people would have just the baking dish. Yeah, you just bake it on up. But then you've got meals that you can put in the freezer. Don't you just love it? Don't you just love it when you're tired, come home from work, you just don't know what to have, and you don't want to cook anything. I mean, because when you cook, you've got to then clean it up. It's just what a drag. If you can make one meal that is actually several meals, it's one set of washing up as well. But isn't it a joy? Such a joy when, and then you look in the freezer thinking maybe you'll have to take something out to thaw it, or find a microwave meal, and you find that I've got all these home cooked meals in some Pyrex in the freezer. It's just like nothing like it. Yeah, to manage that business is the way to go, Esbrook, for sure. Yeah. With me, it's not menopause that's put on this weight. It's because I'm not running because of various reasons, and it's because I keep going back to drinking alcohol. And, alcohol is not good for you at the best of time. And if you don't want to carry weight in certain areas, avoid alcohol. Some alcohol is less bad news than others, but and definitely portion control with everything, right? One meal a day is a really useful way for people to regulate blood sugars and self-healing, and that sort of thing. But it doesn't suit everybody. But I would fish tacos. I would suggest to everybody, if you've got any concern about things like weight or diabetes or just general immunity or health, do try something like keto. Just try it. Don't need to go hardcore into carnivore or too much fasting or anything, but if you just try keto, if you give that a go for a month, you'll see results. Yeah, my sugar addiction is, I really guess a sugar addiction. I know how to break it, and I know what it's related to, and I'm willfully my worst enemy, if that makes sense. I know exactly what I'm doing. I know what I can do to solve problems. I know what I can do to create problems, and let's just say I live a life of poor choices a lot of the time. Yeah, for various reasons. Righty ho. Okay. Some takeout is better than others, and I mean, I had the most massive amount of gelato the other day, and of the worst flavors as well, lemon meringue pie or something, and pavlova. Yeah, I paid for that in more ways than just, with buying it. So, didn't I say, it's my coffee cup from earlier. Didn't I say I was going to come on with this coffee cup, to do with the situation with AWP, right? Yeah, fuck this shit. Lemon water in small portions, yeah. Oh, yeah, eating late, Johnny. Yeah, I mean, ideally human beings do work with dawn and dusk, and, work on getting up early, seeing a lot of sunlight from the beginning of the day. That will help your body start to pull you down into sleep mode at the end of the day, or the end of the night. And yeah, shutting off device. I'm the worst. Shutting off devices, being in a dark space, calming your mind, not eating late because you want your body to be repairing and processing other things and not having to work hard to digest your food. Yeah, because you can utilize that downtime of the night as part of your fasting period. So all really you have to do some regular fasting is eat dinner early and then delay your breakfast a bit and get used to it that way until you eat at lunchtime the next day and you're used to that. And then if you want to, you can extend it and try eating from not until dinner time again, and just try OMAD for a bit. But you can have an eating window, where you might eat for a couple of hours at night, right? And just enjoy different parts of a meal or something. It's super beneficial. Go and exercise on an empty stomach, okay? Don't need to carb up. Carb cycling is something else again, and yes, you'll get great results with carb cycling. But high intensity training, that's where it's at. You don't need to do this long drawn out regime. You can go and do some sprints. Sprints, of course, could be swimming. It doesn't have to be running. Or if you normally can only manage a stroll, walk really fast and you do a series of sprints. You can be out and back in a short time, and it's got so much benefit, and it's getting your body into drive. And then if your first meal is, say, protein only, maybe a little bit of fat, so a lamb chop or a piece of bacon and an egg, okay? 20 minutes after, you're going to build muscle, and you're not going to process your food as storing fat, okay? Carbohydrates, sugar, essentially sugar, you don't, the body works the macros differently, right? So you want to allow your body to it can create its own sugar. Let's say that everyone goes, oh, the brain, it runs on glucose, but the process gluconeogenesis, right? Gluconeogenesis is what the liver does to produce glucose out of protein and fat. You don't need to give your body carbs to get the glucose, to get the sugar. And what carbs are doing is it's spiking, reactions in your body, insulin to try and get sugar out of your blood, right? And then whatever you don't burn up right away. So if you're having a high carbohydrate meal for breakfast, and if all you go and do is then go and sit in your car to drive to work or on the bus or whatever, and then go and sit maybe at a desk or in front of a classroom or whatever, if you're not burning it sufficiently and quickly, well, it's storing as fat. So sugar actually is what's storing as fat, and women, right? This is where we get it. I've got to work on my arms. I've got to start doing something. I've got to tone up. I don't even ride my bicycle anymore. It's a long story, but well, maybe it's a short one, So and you store it, and definitely more and more so after certain ages with our pooches and our arms and bums or thighs or whatever it is. Different body types will store it in different ways and in different configurations, right? But so that's why try keto and try having windows of fasting and see where it goes. You may or may not appreciate this person, but try watching Dr. Berg, B-E-R-G. Okay, sure, he's a Scientologist. Who gives a shit? His son has a lot of sour grapes, okay? because he's got a lot of very real information. So has Bart K. And yeah, I'm so understand S. Brooke. Yeah, yeah. And then the things our brains tell us to do, though, and crave, though, right? You know, we might want a bag of potato chips. We know we don't want them. Our body needs something else or nothing. Yeah. Look, I think a lot of times too, you know, and so we eat them at 9 o'clock at night. Well, you know, look, I have to say, I'm usually very good with things like, well, I'm off OMAD for a while, but I'm trying to get back on it. But, you know, I can actually do it pretty easily. Not eat until lunchtime, and then I don't eat anything more after 6:30. I'm very good at that, and I'm usually very good at, I will have meat and maybe some lettuce, salad, cheese, whatever, right? But I go through this huge long, and this phase, you know, might be very long. They seem to get longer of the junk food and the just eating all the things I know my body doesn't like or need, and that won't make me feel good and will make me despise myself. But oftentimes too, when we think we're hungry, I'll just say this, we're often thirsty and we often need water. So yeah, there was a big scandal, Esbrook, with Dr. Berg's son. And, you know, Jason Fung. Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, the son's trying to make it a scandal, right? And, yeah, I mean, it's sad to see families fall apart or push themselves away and that sort of thing. It is sad, but, you know, that's what's happened to Dr. Berg. But, you know, and if it's true what he says, well, if the son isn't lying when Dr. Berg said to him, "I'm bulletproof, I'm God." Well, you know, actually, look, yeah, you're not going to make a dent on him with what he's saying, and yeah, you know, I can't think to know the dynamic, but I can certainly imagine some of it after viewing a couple of videos of the son. Yeah. Anyway. I think people can view excellent content, separate from it. I mean, you had no idea, right? So, Lorianne, hi. Melissa Caddick's Cash, Cache, yeah, is going up for auction to try to raise funds to give back to the people she defrauded. Of course, Anthony Coletti is making allegations that certain things are missing, when it's a bit strange because I think he did say on tape that nothing was gone. I don't know. He's a very strange one. Have you seen his album that he made, Laurie? Yeah, he's got some weird things to say. I was in two minds about him, or rather, I was thinking, oh God, this guy really believes in his wife. Yeah, but I don't know. It is mysterious. Yes, it's on YouTube, Lorianne. I think it might just be if you look for. Do you remember what his productions company was called? Maybe it's under that, but I think if you just search by Anthony Coletti music or something, because it's under some productions name. Yeah, but he put out a whole album about the raid and being, you know, treated really badly by law enforcement. I mean, I will say this, big fucking fail, AFP. It's very suspicious that the AFP weren't watching the house. How did Melissa Caddick slip out from that Dover Heights home, make it to the cliff, and lead to a death? Why weren't federal agents or ASIC agents watching? They removed the camera as evidence and then just assumed that they didn't need to watch and that this woman would turn up 3 days later for her hearing. Instead, it was probably midnight that night that she's gone. If Anthony hasn't driven her out somehow in the car, something like that, I don't know. But they're fools. And so you think, well, are they fools? Well, they're not stupid, right? So was that contrived? Did they want a certain outcome? Why? Why? Is it because they somehow, is this inquiry still going to go through? I mean, or does it mean that if there's going to be no trial, they're not going to be held under the microscope for how they let this woman trade for so many years in the way that she did? Trade as a financial advisor, making, false of being a of actually legitimately trading money rather than, well, her money was made by the money she took. It was a Ponzi scheme. Okay, Shitty Kitty is live. Yeah, so we can pop over there if you feel like it. I might go and do that while I cook my meal before I have to go to work. So, yeah, it's really interesting. It's a big insight, Laurie. And, maybe we should have a live about the caddocks again. I don't know if I've really got anything more to say, but it is a very, very interesting situation. And I guess I could watch again the interviews and give a response to that and see what people think. Because, the interviews with Anthony Caddick now, that footage has been released, right? So, yeah, and it is interesting. All right, well, thanks for being here, everyone, and see you anon. Thank you, Johnny. Thanks always for being so supportive. It's really sweet. Even when you pop in and just say, great video. It's really sweet. There's a lot of podcasts on Melissa. There are some really, wow. I mean, what a woman. Can I just say this? I have to reiterate it. I've said it before. I've said it again. And people, they say it about Richard Allen too. Oh, narcissists don't kill themselves. Sorry. Narcissists, or people with narcissistic personality disorder, are at higher risk of committing suicide in these situations, in these high stress, tense situations, okay, than people without narcissistic personality disorder. These assumptions that people make, these are the same people that don't walk themselves through situations with any sort of knowledge on psychology and the human condition. I don't know. Look, fair enough. They've got their angle. They've got their way to see life. I'm not invalidating that entirely, but there's more to it than the black and white way they're viewing things. And it is not true that Richard Allen wouldn't never just commit suicide. He should be on suicide watch, okay? Particularly if his wife had no knowledge, or particularly, he should be. If he is a narcissist, which we can maybe assume he is, and that's my theory, that there's narcissistic personality disorder with a codependent wife. Therefore, if that's true, and that's just my layperson guess, or a theory, okay? It's not an assumption, it's just a theory. Then he is at risk of suicide before this even goes to trial, before his hearing. He should be in solitary confinement being watched. I mean, we know, okay, they couldn't keep Epstein alive. Did they try to? No. But they want to try and keep Richard Allen. alive so that he can face the music. If he did die, would all the facts of the investigation come out, or would they be suppressed? So might we never learn what a useless investigation it was if that's the case? I don't know. I hope we're going to be learning it's a fabulous investigation and that good people have tried really hard, even if they've misstepped sometimes, or even if they haven't really had a clue of what they're doing. Maybe we're going to find out they're geniuses and it's been a genius investigation. I don't know. I don't know if that's what we're being shown. So, but either way, he needs to be kept alive to face the music, and he is a suicide risk, and I'll just leave it there. Okay, because I have rattled on long enough. It's 2 hours and 11 seconds. Thank you so much. I am grateful for every humanimal that sticks around, every person that does support me just with watching or commenting and with reasonable discussion and debate and conversation. You don't have to agree with me when you're in the comment section. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for sycophants or yes people. I'm just looking for people that can communicate and converse in a certain way. And, sometimes I'm sorry when people go, but mostly no, because if they don't want to be here, if we don't, if they don't want to be here, or if they don't align or think a certain way, they shouldn't be here. It's not about anything like that, right? If I wanted to put my mind into making a channel to grow, I can monetize. I'm not. I've had the ability to monetize this channel for a long, long time. It's nothing to do with that. And I don't set out to work out, okay, well, maybe I should put some more effort into making a nice channel and an interesting channel and a consistent channel. Yes, I could do better because I could repay the time, effort, the faith that people have had in me. I really should. But, this channel is just me getting on and talking. That's it. So I guess I'm consistent in that way. Okay. Love you guys. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. You mean a lot. You mean a lot. A lot of you are very, very loyal. And I don't deserve it, but I recognize it. Okay, and I appreciate it. All right, see you later. I'm going over to Shitty Kitty while I cook my steak.